Mountain momentum. A week on, and at a tiny military base barely 100 kilometers from Kathmandu, motion is perpetual. Aid choppered in from the airport, then divided for distribution. Tents from China, rice from the World Food Program. Tourist helicopters seconded to deliver what they can to remote locations, a bit at a time. It's complicated, but stand right here and you see help is flowing. At least it is for some. Travel even 30 kilometers from that base, inching along cracked roads, and the tone shifts with the views. Wholesale loss of homes, and there's tension. They're feeling forgotten, have yet to see aid, even though they know it's flying above them. Off the pavement where travel gets rougher, isolation builds. An entire family stops us. They want water, but need more. Where is everyone, they ask. A few kilometers north, with the sun going down, we're stopped again.
We can manage the food for 1-2 days, but most of the old people and children are suffering from pneumonia, cold and cough.
So they need shelter.
Shelter first, yeah. Shelter is the most essential for us.
Okay. Have you seen any aid agencies here?
No.
This man's name is Deepak. This place is Thulusirbari, the largest in a cluster of villages. Roughly 500 people in total live here. They've made it with no electricity, no military, no police, no searchers, and are heading into a week of lonely nights with no new supplies. Their mornings are harder now, too. Not many sleep well with aftershocks. They worry about being out in the open while the leopards roam. And some are getting sick. Chandra Tamand is now in a makeshift shelter with his family. Mercifully, they all survived, even if their home is ruined. Over morning tea, he explains villagers just can't understand why no one's here. Figure politics are getting in the way of serving the people.
That's why they are quite angry.
It's not hard to get here, though. I mean, the road is passable.
They can if they want, but I don't know what's their problem. They are not here until now.
He's interrupted by the arrival of 90-year-old Vishnu Maya, who's walked for an hour from another smaller village. She'd hoped a doctor would be here. Says breathing and eating are hard, and that quake really scared her.
She's alone in her family. She has no one.
How did she get out of her house?
She was with a buffalo.
You were with the buffalo.
Buffalo, yeah. She was holding the nail of buffalo and holding horn of buffalo.
Being outside and hanging on to her buffalo maybe saved her. Her determination keeps her going, up seemingly endless hills to wait for help. We don't know if it ever came. While she waited, Chandra continued with the story of the quake and realizing his neighbors were dying around him.
People are crying, shouting, asking for the help, and some of us, like himself, myself, whoever young who can run, we go that wherever we hear the sound, then we grab them. Until now, I'm feeling that I'm not alive until now.
You're not alive?
Yeah, I'm like in another planet.
All was not lost, though. He wants to show us the house next door. It's the one he ran to first that day. He realized a woman he thought was dead was still breathing.
She was exactly at this place. She was here. While I saw her hand, make a big space, dig, and we take her.
What a shock.
It's my body's shaking now while I'm talking.
Just remembering it.
Yeah.
He and others carried her kilometers to the paved road to flag down a truck to get her to a hospital. And already she's back, clearly hurting. With no more pain medication left, she's hot and lethargic.
So she's feeling a lot of pain on her cheeks, on her neck.
What does she remember?
She was studying inside and started shaking. She tried to run away, but there's a pillar that just sort of collapsed. So the house fell on her. She doesn't remember anything after that.
She's remembering her mom and sister.
Remembering her mom and sister, he said. They didn't survive. Just a few hundred meters away, more in trouble medically. These men carrying injured neighbors to a clinic for a check. What they need is an ambulance, but forget calling for help.
Well, you can't charge your phones. Your phones are dead.
But with no way to power phones, they can't even communicate. Some who worry about them have heard nothing from them. Turns out that to send stories to Canada, we needed to fire up gear using energy from the car battery. Pretty easy to then just add a few power bars. Cell phones and flashlights and radios came out fast. Thirst for information and connections acute. The first sign of life in his phone, barely 1 bar of strength, Ramesh Nepali called his sister.
She asked how she is and how things are at the village. And his reply was that he's okay, but there's still a lot of fear in the village.
Is that the first time he's spoken with her since the earthquake?
Yes.
She must have been very worried.
Another group retreated to the shade to gather around Deepak's radio.
One of the first things they did after charging up the phones and the radio was gather to try to get a bit of news. There's not much, but one thing they did here is that a truck full of supplies on its way to this region was apparently stopped by police. That doesn't make them happy at all. And the problem is, at the moment, they just can't figure out why that happened.
Seems police think it wasn't safe for the truck to travel alone on the ruined road, wanted to wait for a convoy.
In major places in highway, people are looting that food.
Right. They're so desperate that they're looting. Okay. That can't make you happy to hear that they've stopped a bus. But maybe it will come in an orderly way now. You don't think?
No.
Frustrated, but aware that much of the delay is about terrain. The terrace slopes they love make access so tough, it will get worse when the monsoon rains come within weeks. It's already rough going. Suddenly, the men of Tulu-Sirubari must rescue a truck that slipped off the road in front of them, blocking the only way in or out. It's carrying food arranged privately by those in a village up the road. It was never going to stop in Tulu-Sirubari. Still, they lean in, always had to look out for each other. For the assurances that real help is coming, they'll believe it when their tired eyes see it. Adrian Arsenault, CBC News, Tulu-Sirubari, Nepal.